There is blind justice, and then there is trading justice, so that you can finally afford to get that laser eye surgery. Not only will people find you more attractive once you ditch those old glasses, you'll be able to see your charts better. That's what we call win-win. Speaking of winning, it's time for a little trading justice, brought to you by TackleTrading.com.
Welcome out to the Trading Justice podcast, and kind of an awkward start to the conversation there. But that's okay. I don't mind awkward, Jeffrey. We have a special guest here today to join us, Jeffrey Gibby from Metastock, and he's going to talk about software and the use of software, the role of software for a trader out there in the market. You know, what they look at, what they do over there at Metastock. I'll also talk to Jeff about kind of the history of what he's seen in the market in terms of software development, how it's come along, how it's grown, all of those kind of things. Jeffrey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Phil.
Yeah, Phil and Tim. Yeah, you got to get my name right, Jeff. If I'm going to interview, we've talked at least a dozen times in the last 3 months. So, yeah.
You want to start over?
Well, no, I don't mind. Okay. We don't ever start over. We have a rule at the Trading Justice podcast, and that's it. That is no cuts, no edits, unless it's something like lag or skip or anything like that. We can just do it live. Whatever Phil wants to edit out later, it's kind of like that old thing. I leave it alone. That's his project, not mine. I'm here to just hang out.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Apologies on that. Just look up, say a name, And thanks for editing, Phil.
That's right. So, Jeffrey, you've got an interesting background here. Tell us about yourself and what you do with Metastock, and a little bit about who Metastock is.
Sure. About 18 years or so ago, I started working for Metastock. I was fresh out of college and had a lot of sales experience. Basically, I started in inside sales. So we would talk to a lot of people that were traders and talk to them a lot about what they were doing, how they wanted to improve what they were doing. And it was a very consultative type of a process. We would kind of say, okay, well, are you looking to get better trades? Are you looking for better stocks? Are you looking to kind of improve your timing? And with the software, it's the software that we were selling then, in addition to the software that we're selling now, is very, very good at kind of helping in a lot of different areas, whether that be scanning or testing or getting alerts on a real-time basis from the marketplace. And that was very, very good. I was really pretty good at that. I love the software, and that, it's always easier to sell a product that you really, really like. And personally, from that experience, I started to work with some of, let's say, the bigger educators here in the U.S. and our distribution overseas, and we've been able to grow a very, very good business out of it. Some lucky side effects of kind of the background that I had is I had no trading experience before I started with Metastock, and now I'm a fairly active trader. I wouldn't say I'm a super active trader, but I'm always kind of have some option plays out there that are doing well.
Mm-hmm. Now, 18 years ago, it all seems like a flashover in my mind, because it takes me right back to 1997. 1997. I was in high school, Jeff.
Oh, wow.
So that gives you some context. Yeah. I was a senior in high school when you started that job at Metastock. Quite a journey from there till now.
It's been a lot of fun, Tim. It really has. 1990. Yeah, it seems like it's just flown by too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know the market's changed. I remember in 97, computers were a fairly new thing for a lot of families. I think that was about when we started to pick up. We had an old DOS computer in the early 90s. I remember still playing the original Final Fantasy on it. I didn't really care about trading at that time. 97, 98, we all had a little bit of computer access, but really software. And for a retail trader, somebody like myself now, at that time, it probably was revolutionary to be able to pick up Metastock and install it and use it and get access to charting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. And the things that we were doing back then were just as cutting edge as what we're doing now. I mean, even back in those days, we had the ability to do full market scans, which a lot of software even really hasn't picked up yet. But it was pretty eye-opening. And Final Fantasy is a great game, by the way.
Well, I don't know if you ever played the original ones before they hit like the consoles, the ones that were just computer-based. But I thought it blew my mind when I had access to those. Yeah, that was so cool. Yeah, it was a great game. But going back to Metastock, it has an interesting history. I just pulled up the Wikipedia page. I'm going to ask you a few things. This may catch you off guard. I hope not. I don't think it'll be anything. But it was a company that was started in the 80s, 82, it looks like, by a guy named Steve Achelis. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually pronounced Achelis.
And he then, what did he do with this company? Interesting. Wikipedia, we'll trust that this is accurate. I remember it was the name Equus. Is that still a part of Metastock? Because it says they were renamed Equus International in 1989.
We were actually, it was started, basically, I didn't know that, actually. It wasn't even Equus International when I started working there. That was what I thought was the original name of the company. But I would trust the Wikipedia page over.
You say the original name.
But when I started, it was actually part of Thomson Reuters.
Oh, I see. Computer Asset Management, Equus International, and then it was written for an Apple II Plus product, development, journey, interesting journey. But then Metastock 1.0 was released in 1986, unbelievable. Had to be cutting edge and groundbreaking at the time. One thing about being around software, developers and people who've been around trading software is those old guys that started from the beginning. They've seen the entire progression, and they've gotten in front of the curve. Do you feel like that's where Metastock is now? Just that 30 years of experience is built into the new product they have?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can really buy the talent pool of programmers that we've got. And it just amazes me how they continue to push the envelope, so to speak, with what they do over there. Some of the work that they're doing now, particularly like one of the new power tools that we have recently released, allows people to go in and instead of like backtesting like a certain technical indicator, it allows them to statistically project on a chart what's going to happen. And we've got some patents like rolled up on there. But yeah, I don't think we'd be able to buy the amount of just talent we've got if we were starting right now.
Yeah. I'm looking at this. I find it fascinating. I'm looking at the years released of different versions of Metastock. The first was released in 85, 86. And then about every year and a half, 2 years, there's a new update. 1, 2, 3, all the way down. Now you're on Metastock 14. And that was released this year in 2015. What's in the new version that came out that you think is pretty slick that you'd want to highlight?
Oh, that's a really good question, and the answer is very simple. I use it almost every day. In 13, we released a forecaster, which kind of what I was alluding to a little bit ago. It allows you to kind of statistically go and map out what a likely price path is. With the new version, they have the ability to draw your own patterns and actually take patterns off of the chart and say statistically, what is this likely to do after that happens? And it seems like every time I'm kind of looking at a trading decision, the Dow had a huge drop today, or it had a major curve a few weeks ago, or whatever it happens to be, I'm always kind of taking the last 10 or 15 or 20 days of price data and saying, how has this looked in the past? And draw this on the chart for me, show me, but also statistically run the math and do a forecaster. It looks like a heat wave, but show me what is likely to happen after this event. And it works really, really cool. People really, really like that functionality.
Sure. Yeah. And that is a word that you hear with Metastock is functionality, but it's also robust. It's a very deep program. I mean, indicators, there's over 250 predefined indicators, I believe. There's all kinds of custom indicators that you can use, different forecasters and that kind of thing. And I want to tackle a subject that I know some of my listeners are probably going to be wondering. Can I learn it? For a new trader, maybe let's say somebody on the mid-level of being tech savvy, do you think it's the kind of product and software that they can get training on and learn to use in their own trading?
Yes. In fact, we include a lot of training for free as part of the package. And so you can go up to our website and go through videos. The functionality to kind of get to where you're currently at, which I'm going to assume if you're a new user to Metastock is you want to be able to put a couple of charts on a screen, and you want to be able to kind of run some basic scans and stuff like that. You should be able to do that the first time you really sit down with Metastock. It's really a pretty intuitive program, but it's also a huge toolbox. So the nice thing about it is the more you learn about how to use those tools, the better they're going to work for you. The other thing that's nice, as I'm sure you know, Tim, is the more I believe in life you're going to get better at something or you're going to get worse at something. There's really not a neutral, whether that's professionally. I believe that's true. Vocationally, it's true. It's true with your family life. It's either getting better or it's getting worse. It's not really sticking in a neutral. And I believe that's extra true with your trading. The more that you go to classes about how to learn how to trade and those type of things are going to improve what you're doing. The nice thing about Metastock is it's robust enough that the more you learn about trading, the more you're going to be able to implement the tool. It's not a program that's going to have like 3 or 4 indicators that you're going to grow out of real quick, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes total sense. And I'll tell you, I mean, I'm a big believer in life that there is no finish line to your journey in terms of education and training and learning and growing. And software, especially for a trader, software is that shiny new toy that you get a chance to use. And probably the most important thing for any new bit of software is, one, commit to learning the basics first so that you can log in, you can access charts and data and get organized. And then you can dive into the little things, backtesting or customizing indicators. And what I've generally found, Jeffrey, and one of the reasons why I really, when you reached out to me, I jumped at the opportunity to start working with Metastock in terms of promoting it and using the software, because I think my clients can really benefit it. But I'm a big believer in you have to pick the people you want to do business with and then make that great. And I think Metastock is the kind of company I feel very confident in. I know as a trader who's done this a lot, and I'm a trading nerd, Jeff, just to let you know. I trade everything. I trade futures and commodities and options on this and that, and ETFs and stocks and Forex pairs and all kinds of stuff. But not everybody does all that. If you're going to get a new software going, try to learn just some simple stuff first. I would recommend. Over the course of your 18 years, I want to go back on something before we leave it there. There's been obviously huge changes just in the marketplace itself. And, with new softwares, we have access to backtesting and automated chart analysis. At some point, do you worry that some of these tools will create too much groupthink? Or is that just an old argument that's been rehashed a million times? What's your thought on that?
It's really, really interesting, because a lot of people think that if a system gets too popular, it's not going to work as well. My experience with that is obviously I don't think there's so many different ways to look at the market. I got back from a trip to Vegas that we had with some partners just a couple weeks ago, and it was really, really funny. I was having a conversation with a guy there where we were basically, for the most part, trading against each other. And by that, I mean he was taking option plays on a straddle basis, selling them. Basically hoping, not a straddle, but he was selling the options, hoping that the price didn't change. Mm-hmm. And I was taking the exact opposite role. I was actually buying them from him, not necessarily from him directly, but you know what I mean. I was actually hoping that the price did change. Mm-hmm. The funny thing was we were both incredibly popular, or profitable. Not popular, but profitable. Maybe we were popular. I don't know.
I think you're a popular guy. I bet you're the life of the party, Jeff. I guarantee it.
But we're both incredibly popular. There's so many different ways to slice it out. Somebody could be using moving averages. Somebody may be looking at there's 300 indicators in Metastock. There's so many different things that make sense, whether if you want to trade and be in and out during the day versus if you're more like me that wants to take a little bit more relaxed approach. I have 3 kids and a very full-time job. And so if I'm trading 3 or 4 times a month, I feel like I'm doing pretty good, particularly if I'm profitable, which I usually am. So there's so many different instruments, so many different ways you can shake down those instruments. And counterintuitively, it seems like the methods that are out there that are most popular still work, and they've worked for years and years and years and years. So I don't think it's not really an issue for me if the method that I have stops working. I go in and test it and find a new one, and the software has probably about 50 built in, and there's all kinds of different ways to put together methodologies. So it's not a concern for me.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing I tell people when they ask me about that, I had a student one time who he's actually in our Hall of Fame, Jeff, and he's a great student, and he worried about sharing his system. And he's like, well, what if people, start using it too much, and then I don't have the same system or profitability? I mean, this has changed my life. And I said, listen, dummy, the market is bigger than you can ever imagine. So it's one of those things that is not a concern. There are so many banking institutions and financial institutions and governments that push markets and prices and volatility that don't even care about us. They don't even care that we exist. So the fact that, you've got a great system, don't ever worry about sharing it, by the way. I'm a huge believer in that. I know that to be a fact and to be true. Because the big money, the real money in markets, they're playing a different game than we're playing, quite frankly.
And it's true. And they're looking at news, and they're looking at holding on to stuff for long periods of times, and they're looking to scale in. On the opposite end, you've got the hedge funds that are very, very, very active, but we're such a small drop in that bucket that it would be hard to have an impact, even if all of the retail traders got on and started doing something in the same direction, which is never going to happen. So, and then you've got all the 401k money, all the IRA money that's kind of props up the market as well. That's just,
if all of the retail traders banded together, it would be like a bunch of farmers in the 2nd century going up against the Roman legion. Okay, so we don't want to do that. Let's just live in peace on our little farm and grow our little profits in our theta trades and delta trades and using Metastock and kind of leave the institutions alone. It's and it's okay. I actually think it's a real positive thing to understand this. It's okay that there's this big, massive market that has nothing to do with this, because that's what creates the liquidity. Jeff, I've recently started teaching a lot of students internationally, and I have students from South Africa and London and New Zealand. We have members in tackle trading who live in my favorite, Owen Malcolm. He lives in New Zealand, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, all over the place. And one thing I was worried about when I started, branching out internationally and doing some of my training and teaching that way is, I wonder if they'll think I'm just this pompous American ass who just thinks about the American market all the time. And what I've found is smart investors, they want to go where the liquidity is. So even if you're international, a lot of people actually want to invest in the U.S. because those markets, those companies are liquid and they're available to trade. So anyway, yeah, this Metastock stuff, it's all interesting and fascinating. What about that?
It's interesting that you kind of bring up regionality of trading, because I've had, over the 20 years that I've worked here, I've had chances to go in and train Saudi Sheikhs on our software, and I've been to Asia, and I've been all over the place. I've talked to all kinds of traders all over the place. My experience has been, if it's Australia, they really like to trade their own markets. But they also trade the U.S. markets through contracts for difference or whatever. In India, it's actually illegal. This will surprise you a bit. In India, it's illegal to trade anything but NSE, what they call the National Stock Exchange there. In London, they really don't seem to trade much of their own markets, at least the group that I talked to in London. They trade American markets. So it kind of depends on where you're at, but yeah, America is the market of choice.
I didn't know that about India. What about, that's interesting. That might be why I get so many students from London. I always wondered why not India, because there's tons of English-speaking people there, obviously. But they can't trade stocks there. What about Forex? I mean, can they trade international currency markets in India?
I would have to. I have a guy I could ask and get back to you on, but I don't believe that it's locked down to either the stocks or the futures that are available.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
In NSE.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Oh, this is where underground markets are developed. Maybe they'll start trading Bitcoin, Jeff.
One of the cool things about kind of our data coverage too, if you happen to be interested in different markets, is we do cover the Reuters exchanges, and they cover probably. I read one time that they cover 95% of the global market cap. So we cover just about anything. So we have NSE data, London data. We have news everywhere. It's some really good data that we get from Reuters. They spent $1 billion kind of developing their new infrastructure, and we make that available as part of our service package for our customers.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for just a minute. And let me first make sure we have the drop. Phil, I think this is podcast 92. Is that right? Guys, we're going to have a special promotion if you want to try Metastock out for free. That's Metastock and Icon, I believe. We're going to go through the products and describe them. But go to tackletrading.com, locate the podcast, and find the Jeffrey Gibby podcast. It should be podcast 92. Lucky number 92. If you want to go to and you'll find that link. And the Metastock link directly is metastock.com/tackletrading to get this offer if you want the free trial. Now, Jeffrey, you have a couple products that we're focused on here, and why don't you walk us through them one at a time, and let's talk about them thoroughly so that people understand exactly what is available to them out there.
So our two main core products is going to be Metastock Zenith. Metastock Zenith, what we've done is we've white labeled a product that's available, but it's only available to hedge fund traders and banks, and it's available on a very institutional level. Thomson Reuters built it. They spent $1 billion on it, and they built it to compete head-to-head with Bloomberg. It's an awesome product. It's really good at delivering news information to people, fundamental information, major economic information. Like you can go in and see how housing has gone up or down over the last several months. You can compare across countries. It's a very, very huge package. Thomson Reuters is famous for their news. We've been able to make a retail-only version of that product. You can't subscribe to it if you're an institution, because we don't manage the institutional exchanges. And it's part of our agreement with Reuters is that we'll only focus on the retail traders. But what we've been able to do is being able to bring down the price point to a price point that's very, very favorable for a retail trader. It's very competitive with the other services that compete with it, and a much better package as well. So that's our Metastock Zenith package. The other package that we focus on is our Metastock Pro package. And there's two versions of that. There's Metastock RT and there's Metastock DC, but they're the same package. One of them's real time and one of them updates every hour. And that's a software that's been rated number one in its price category, if you can believe this, for 21 years in a row. It helps people. A lot of people buy it because they want to be able to find trades in the market, whether that's the U.S. market or a different market or the Forex market. And our package offers full market scanning. So if you want to find stocks and just go find the ones that you're interested in, let's say I'm an option trader, which would be an accurate statement, and I wanted to find stocks. I know there's about 4,500 stocks out there that are option trades, but I want to find the ones that have the best opportunity to give me some return. I don't want to look at 4,500 stocks either. So the filter that I'm using, I can filter out 97% of that and just focus on the ones that actually have a good opportunity there. And I find opportunities that I wouldn't find otherwise. Of course, it has Forecaster, which is very, very cool. The system testing capabilities, as well as kind of a real great alert engine. There's a reason it's been rated so well over the years. It's really, really helpful for people.
Now, I want to make sure everybody understands this. Thomson Reuters is probably the leader in news that is delivered to institutions in the marketplace. I think there are others out there, but it's either the leader or one of them, right, Jeff?
They're pretty good globally, yes. In the U.S., they are really competing pretty head-to-head with Bloomberg. But over the entire globe, they're the most established. I mean, it's a $19 billion a year company.
Yeah. Yeah, and Reuters has this product that they generally only had offered to institutions, and it's called Icon. Zenith, I believe, is the name of the product that you install, right, Jeff?
Correct.
And this is available to you as a retail trader. I got to tell you, Jeff, this is the one thing that I was most excited about. I know the Metastock Pro is very powerful, and I think the more that I get into it and learn it and get my custom scans built and custom indicators, I'm going to love it even more. But I have technical software everywhere, and frankly, I'm not as big of a technical nut as some of these other traders are. I look at news and fundamentals as much. I love looking at the news stories. And so when I saw Icon and Zenith, I got excited. I started building these different pages, these workspaces out for agricultural, commodities and commodity lists and this and that. And God, I mean, it is so powerful. How do people, once they get it installed, you've got training videos on it. I believe you shared that with me last time you were on for our team meeting. And, talk about the customization part of it. Because we have traders who are Forex traders, we have traders who are commodities traders, we have traders who trade stock and options and all kinds of different things. Can they build it out to where it just gets them what they want?
Oh, absolutely. Initially, one of the things that's really cool about it, because you have to think with the amount of data that they have. I mean, 30,000 reporters on the ground, 95% of the global market cap. I mean, there's so much stuff that goes through the Zenith application.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that they do is they say, okay, well, what are you interested in? What do you trade? So when I installed it, I said, I'm interested in equities and options, which puts all of the most important, a lot of the tools, I was going to say all of the tools, but most of the tools right there. But it also then filters all of the main pages that you look at based on what's the most important news for equities and options. The thing about that I like, one of the things that I really like about Zenith is I can set up multiple monitor displays that have different views and different focus views. So if you can set it up really literally how you want, and then you can have kind of like your main, the way I've got mine set up is I've got my main homepage, which just shows me everything that's going on in the day. And then I have another page that has all my stocks, as well as the news for the stocks, as well as charts for the stocks and any earnings dates that are coming up. And then I actually have a couple of other ones that are built to show people, which is built around Forex and built around futures. Mm-hmm. But I don't actually use those because I don't trade those markets. I only really kind of focus on the options. But the nice thing is each of those pages can spread across multiple monitors. So if I want to go look at the main page, I click on my home workspace, and all of my monitors change to that view. As soon as I'm ready to look at the stocks that I'm interested in, I click on one button and it changes all of my monitors to that view. And I can have as many of these different pre-configured, ready-to-go views as I want. And it's really, really nice to be able to kind of just change everything just by clicking on your button.
Yeah, it is. It did answer it for sure, and I'm telling you, I mean, I love the news feature there, and you can check it out with a free tutorial, free trial as well. Again, find podcast 92 on our website, tackletrading.com. You can find the link. So if you're already a Tackle Trading user, that might be the easiest way for you to get there. Or you can go to metastock.com/tackletrading to get the offer. You got to put in /tackletrading. So make sure that you do that if you're going directly to their site. Now, Metastock Pro, let's talk about that for a bit, because very robust. One of the things with Metastock Pro I'm excited to dive into is backtesting. How do you backtest there? Probably not the details step by step, but in general, what products can you backtest? Talk to us a little bit about that feature.
Oh, sure. And it's one of those things. I'm a little bit biased over the years, Tim, but I think we do a really good job of system testing. One of the things that I'd like to be able to do when I test is take a trading idea, or it might be even a collection of trading ideas, And from that, I can go in and say, okay, take all of these ideas, and now I want to test all of the optionable stocks, or I want to test all of the NYSE, or I can take in, if you're somebody that's trading Australian stocks, for example, you could do that as well. But one of the things that kind of is very powerful about it is, you need to have a trading game plan. When you're going into, and I would recommend you have one that's written down. But what this allows you to do is it allows you to test multiple trading plans against multiple stocks to see if I take a trading idea and test it against 4,000 stocks, and it only works well on one of those stocks, I'm going to throw it out. I want it to work on a broad base of stocks. But if I take a trading idea and it tests really, really well, it also allows me to say, okay, it worked really good on Apple, Microsoft, and IBM last year, but it didn't work on Google and whatever. I can take the ones that it worked best on, and those are the ones that I can use to kind of implement a trading plan with. So it's a very, very powerful tool. And it really appeals to people that say, okay, well, I'm coming in here and there's 400 indicators that I can play with. But if you're like me, you're not going to want to focus on learning about 400 indicators before you place a trade. What testing allows you to do is it allows you to say, which indicators make the most sense to use? And then I'm going to learn about those ones. It's kind of like bypassing all of the education and saving a lot of brain space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, this is exactly my philosophy on it as well. There's so many great tools out there, and being able to backtest and qualify and quantify whether something works or not, you can have a more select version of bringing those onto your system, into your ability to trade. Because people who try to add just everything, just because any mentor or coach talked about it, well, if they don't do it the right way, it's not going to be effective for them. Backtesting allows the user to experience that indicator in a way that you're not going to be able to do just from having somebody tell you they like it. Because you'll see the numbers, you'll understand the numbers, and then you'll more confidently be able to take that information and trade it. One thing I've had to challenge my students on over the years, Jeff, is just the use of indicators and what they think they mean that aren't necessarily proven out by testing or by market performance. I'll give you a simple example. I had a trader tell me one time, I probably had this statement from a trader 1,000 times in my education career, teaching people and mentoring people. They'll say something like, well, that indicator's overbought. That means it's not going to go up. And I'll challenge them on it. And I'll say, well, have you backtested that? Have you backtested that to know exactly what happens after 1 or 5 or 7 or 15 days after the indicator hits an overbought location? And they'll say, no, I don't know anything about it. And so I make them go back and run the numbers and look at it. And sometimes it bears what their original assumption was, but sometimes not. If you're out there and you're listening, I'd say backtesting needs to be a big part of your future if you have any serious intentions of being a professional trader. So much in this Metastock Pro though that I'm excited about, and I need to get better on it myself. It's fairly new for me, Jeff. I've known about Metastock forever. One of my mentors, he actually uses Metastock quite a bit. Jeff Crystal, he's been a guest on the podcast before, and one of our coaches, Noah, actually used to work at Metastock, right? Noah. You're friends with him back in the day, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like Noah. He's a nice guy. I think I gave him a bunch of flooring that ended up not working for my 100-year-old house way back in the day. I still need to talk to him and see if he's installed that flooring. Yeah. But yeah, he used to work right on our team, and Noah's a class act. Crystal, too, used to work right next to me. By the way,
back in the day, I think he did tell me that. Yeah, Metastock has a history here in Salt Lake City, but this isn't the only place you guys are located. You do, you work with clients from all over the world, the globe, I believe, a global company. Do you have any other locations where you physically are, or is Salt Lake your office?
Salt Lake is our main office. We grow a lot of our international business. We go through our distribution network. We have probably around Well, we have a couple hundred retail partners that either take some role of helping us market the program in different countries. And in a lot of cases, they're actually wholesalers where they kind of have a wholesale relationship for Metastock with us. So it's a very international company, but our main office is in Salt Lake City.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's the way a lot of these things are these days. I mean, even if you're tied to one location, you have access to the international economy because of just how connected we are. I think it's a pretty awesome thing about the new economy and the new world we live in. If there's one thing I don't like about the new world we live in, it's the email chains and threads that go 85 deep and with 13 people on that get forwarded. I wish we could find a better way to communicate more consistently. And that's nothing to do with Metastock. That's just a pet peeve of mine. I was complaining about this morning to my wife over coffee. But
I wish we could get all on the same time zone.
Oh, yeah. It is. That is something.
I can't how many times I've woken up at 3 a.m. to do a 3 a.m. class.
Well, this will tell you a lot about me, Jeff. When I was a kid, I grew up in a small town over the mountains here in small town Utah. 7 kids in my family, and at that time I could care less. I mean, outside of Eastern Standard Time to know what time the ball game came on, the NFL game. London, the international daytime, I had no idea. I've never even left the country, I've never even well, actually, I did drop into Mexico one time with my brother. Almost didn't come back. They almost didn't let us back in. I'll tell that story another time, maybe in a minute. But now I can tell you what time it is in India, in Sydney, Australia, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in London, in South Africa, in Germany, in Eastern Europe. I mean, I pretty much have it locked in, the conversion, because I have students from all over the world.
You're ahead of me in that respect. I Google.
Yeah, Google's helpful. GMT also, but if you trade Forex, I'll tell you one of the reasons why is because so many Forex websites are set to Greenwich Mean Time. And so it kind of makes you think, okay, London time, and then also just my students from being everywhere. Whenever I start a webinar, I'll always ask people, hey, where do you live? And I get so many interesting answers. It's pretty cool, actually. It's pretty exciting. Well, Jeff, I'll tell you, I've enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate you coming on. I'm sure we'll have you back to kind of talk about it. Maybe we'll do a live podcast where we can do some video for the users out there. Again, the promotion we have here today is metastock.com/tackle trading. You can get a free trial there, or you can look up podcast 92 in the Trading Justice podcast, and we'll make sure the link to that is there as well. So you can access it in either regard. And that free trial, Jeff, kind of talk about that. Is that for a month? I mean, what exactly does that include?
Yeah, it is it's a 30-day free trial. You can go with either like our hourly update version or our real-time version. I'd recommend you do the real-time because that's going to open up access to Zenith and all of the news and all of the data. All that kind of stuff is going to be available in it. And you can always try it if you decide you want to go end of day after your trial. That's an option that's always available for you. So I would try it in Porsche mode first, and then decide if you're somebody that just really wants it as a mining utility to go and kind of find opportunities out there. DC may be worthwhile for you. Both of them are great packages, but try it with the real time so you get access to Zenith. And then make a decision on in terms of how you're going to go forward after your trial is what I'd recommend. And spend some time up on our Metastock training videos. If you go basically to youtube.com/Metastock, there's all kinds of training that's available there. And it's all set up, okay, I want to learn about scanning. It gives you a 7-minute video on scanning. You watch the video, and then you go play with the platform, and then you can go through another lesson. We tried to make it as direct as possible and as straight and as to the point and as short so that you can kind of divide up your education about the program in terms of what you're interested in priority and in such a way that you could kind of go, okay, here's how I use it. Go practice and then come back.
I've got one more question for you. Maybe even a conversation. Now that I think about it, there's one thing I wanted to make sure we talked about. And I think we've talked about some of your history and where the software industry is now, Metastock Pro, the Zenith, exciting. Where do you see the future of trading software going? and I'm talking not just like next year, but 5 years, 10 years, as technology really advances. I mean, what do you see coming down the pipeline?
Oh, I think everything's going to be on tablets. Who saw the tablet thing coming about 5 or 10 years ago? But as tablets and as these kind of portable devices get a little more and more popular and more powerful, we haven't put Metastock on a tablet yet because they're not powerful enough to run, particularly like the statistics and the testing that we do with forecasting and tester. But everything's going to be pretty much on your phone or on your tablet. I mean, I think I was trying to think the last time I actually went downstairs to my computer in my home office, as opposed to just kind of getting on the pad and answering a couple of emails or messages that way. I see a lot of it getting more and more automatic. I see statistics coming into a big play with that. And I think our forecaster is a part of that. But I see things getting more and more powerful. The new tablet Apple put out, the Apple II, which is actually not that new now. It's funny how fast things changes, but it's as powerful as an Xbox 360, which means it's getting pretty close to where we would be able to fully run.
Well, and I'm trying to remember exactly what this software is called, but have you seen also those? I mean, to me, they look like headsets, almost like a skier's helmet, and they have the entire thing that wraps around somebody's vision. Microsoft introduced some product at one of their technology conventions. I know Apple's been working on a product like that. Phil might know the name of it. We talked about it in headsets. Yeah. I mean, I even can see a day where you can stream data into that visual and actually, kind of be interacting with it. I even think outside the tablet, I think it's probably moving even beyond that at some point. I know those softwares are cloud-based, and I know there's going to be some really creative engineering and software company that can find a way to tie in trading software into that cloud. Could you imagine sitting on your couch, Jeff, with some space-age helmet on, and you can see charts all over and interact with them with your hands and everything? I honestly don't think it's that far away. 5-10 years from now, I believe that we'll be seeing a completely different environment.
Personally, I can't see myself doing that, but I was never a fan of the Google Glass concept either. So, sure. But I can see that becoming hugely popular. I don't think I'll be an adopter.
If you're asking me what I'd prefer to see myself doing, it would be sitting on a shore of a lake in the mountains throwing a fishing line out. But in terms of technology seems to grab us. It's such a fascinating thing. I think you need balance in life. I mean, you need all things. If you're going to trade, you have to have the current technology. And the cutting edge current technology in software right now is Zenith and Metastock Pro. And so, guys, get out there, get to metastock.com/tackle trading if you want that free trial, or go to podcast number 92 on the Trading Justice podcast. You can find that on tackletrading.com and find the link that will take you there as well. And, check it out. Give it a try. All right, Jeff, we're out. Thanks for being a guest here on the Trading Justice podcast. Phil, thank you for hosting and putting all this together and all those notes you've taken. Everybody else out there, get in the game.
Thanks, Tim. And thanks, Phil.
See you, Jeff.
I'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the Trading Justice podcast. If you've enjoyed yourself and think that the conversations and topics we've covered are important, help spread the word. Give us your feedback. 5 stars on iTunes, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. The Trading Justice podcast is proudly sponsored by TackleTrading.com. Get off the sidelines and get in the game.